A very good morning, young people. A very good morning to everyone who is tuning in, all our viewers around the country and outside the country. My name is Nati Kule, and excuse that bit of noise. My name is Nati Kule. I am a Junior Achievement Eswatini out of school mentor, meaning I basically train people on businesses, young people who have completed school, who have completed the in-school program of Junior Achievement Eswatini, and others in different communities who have not been a part of Junior Achievement Eswatini, but through their municipalities, through their communities, or through other organizations, have heard about Junior Achievement Eswatini and end up applying for a mentorship course. So I'm basically one of the people who mentor young people. I do come with a bit of experience with a business that is 13 years old now, which is focusing on marketing consultancy, and which is a very key pillar of any business, because you're talking about sales. How are you going to get your business to the people? As much as finance is one of the biggest pillars of any business plan, but marketing, that is how you're able to pay back your loan, because people get to know about you, people get to take up your products through marketing. And also I am an Entrepreneurship World Cup 2020 mentor, meaning that I was selected to represent Eswatini to coach other businesses from around the world. I coached businesses in Argentina, businesses in as far as Algeria, businesses in St. Lucia, with the Argentinian company that I coached, making it all the way into the top 25 of the top 100 companies in the world. So this is just giving you an overview of your lecturer, your guest lecturer, or guest teacher, or guest trainer for the day. And Natikule, we are beaming here live from, of course, Junior Achievement offices in Manzini, new scenic offices just past Manzini Nazarene High School. A nice setting with a lot of green wildlife. If you could see the view that I can see behind the cameras here. And we're here basically for a first of a two-part series. The first day of a two-part series. The first day is just strictly going to be focusing on entrepreneurship. What is entrepreneurship? Just outlining how to start the idea generation process. How do you even start thinking of an idea? How do you even start to conceptualize your business idea? Because a lot of young people, they'll tell you that, you know, I've heard about entrepreneurship, I like entrepreneurship, I think I like entrepreneurship, but now my problem is, where do I start? So that is where we'll start off today. Then we'll go into just looking at the regulations. How do you eventually start registering a business? We've had a lot of misconceptions, people saying, no, you must do this in order to register a business. So we're just going to go through those steps as well that get your business registered. And then lastly, we're going to go into a very in-depth presentation that is just going to speak to the business plan, just break it apart line by line and look at what it entails and what you as an individual need to fill in and fill out in order to make that business plan a very viable one, and one that can attract funders, attract investors, and also just help sustain your business. Because at the end of the day, a business plan is not written to only attract funders. It is also written to be the blueprint or the guide or the map or the strategy of your business, and it is the heart and soul of your business. I always say a business plan is like having a map that will guide you. If you wanted to go to Zimbabwe right now and you didn't have a map, you would find yourself all the way in Mozambique, or you'd find yourself in Lesotho because you don't have a map. But if you have a map, you'll go straight to Zimbabwe, because it will guide you where you need to go. And that is what a business plan does. It guides each and every step of a business, from the operations to the finances, to the marketing, to looking at strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats of this business. No matter how small a business is, it needs a business plan, because a business plan also speaks to the growth part of that business. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here, of course, as part of the 21 Days of Yellow Care. Junior Achievement Eswatini has partnered with MTN Eswatini for a second year in a row. You do recall last year people won seed capital through the same partnership with Junior Achievement Eswatini and MTN, where they were again taught on many aspects of business and went on to then compete for this 10,000 seed capital. And we're back here again this year. And of course, after the 2-day session, we'll be going out to the regions. So we won't just be here virtually alone. We'll also go out and start training young people in the 4 regions of the country, training them about how to register business, how to grow their business, and how to really sustain the same businesses. So it's going to be an exciting week. And of course, then the following week, we are also having our business shower week. So it's really a jam-packed youth month for Junior Achievement Eswatini, which is fantastic because young people deserve all the support that they can get. They deserve to be brought to the development table. Ladies and gentlemen, without saying too much, let's go straight into our first presentation of the day. We'll go through all the slides. It's about 12 slides. Thereafter, we'll just take a break before I come back with the last aspects of the presentation, which will be the business plan outline. We can proceed. So our first presentation will be all about youth entrepreneurship, ideation, and compliance, which basically is a very important topic that is on the minds of many young people around the country. When you talk of youth entrepreneurship, of course, you are talking about young people going into the business arena and looking at ways of how they can self-employ themselves, create employment by themselves, not really relying on sending out a CV. We do know that the figures are scary. When you look at over 58%, that means 1 in 2 young people are unemployed. And with those scary statistics, we then need to find a solution. And the solution has been seen world over to be youth entrepreneurship, because you get one young person to start a business, grow a business, sustain a business, and you have that person becoming a future employer for other young people and creating more jobs for other young people around the country. So which is why we will just be concentrating on that as the first pillar today. And then also looking into the issue of ideation. But first and foremost, we need to start at what is an entrepreneur. Can anyone, everybody be an entrepreneur? Are we all born to be entrepreneurs? There's always that debate. People say entrepreneurs are born, they are not made. You cannot just go to a business school and become a top entrepreneur. They make examples of many top entrepreneurs, and they say, how come so-and-so didn't go to business school but is a thriving entrepreneur? But the reality of it all is that everything complements each other. Learning about entrepreneurship will give you a boost because you get to know other technical aspects that are involved in running and growing your business. That, of course, in that picture is the brilliance, the genius, Mr. Elon Musk. They're using him as an example in this picture to say what really makes up a top entrepreneur, what makes up a basic entrepreneur. The first and foremost, as you can see the arrow on the left, it says brain. It says to be an entrepreneur, the first thing you need to have is a brain. Reminds me of one quote that was once said by a youth council CEO. He said, the first thing a young person needs to do in order to go into business and thrive in business is to be alive. He said, you must make sure you stay off drugs, you stay off premature sexual activities, and just concentrate on being alive. And then you can start grabbing opportunities. I'll never forget those words, because of course if you are dead, you cannot secure any opportunities. And if you are intoxicated, there is no opportunity that you can take up. So here, they are saying the first thing that you need to have as a young person in order to become an entrepreneur, you need a brain. And that brain, we all know that almost every young person is filled with great ideas. So that one we can already tick, that every young person watching this, wherever you are, has already has one quality that allows them to become an entrepreneur, no matter where they come from, no matter who they are, and no matter what their background is. So, and then the second one, it's very important. I like the second one. It's called ears. One business mentor once said, it is very important that as an individual, you need to have big ears and a very small mouth. He says you need to have very big ears and a very small mouth. He says that is the only secret to success in this world. Just have big ears and a small mouth. Most entrepreneurs, they listen, they pay attention to detail. They listen about opportunities. It's part of continuous learning. They're always continuously learning, continuously wanting to find out where the next opportunity is. They literally, like these people who want to go to a nightclub or a party, who put their ears on the ground and want to listen where the music is coming from, and they follow the trail of that music. Entrepreneurs put their ear on the ground and they follow the trail of the next big business opportunity. They look around and they say, oh my goodness, in my community there is no store since one was destroyed by the unrest. So they start looking, what can I provide that was essential? So you find them in their spaza shops now. They now have bread, they are now selling cold drink, they are now selling the basic things that the community may need, because that is an entrepreneurship mindset. They listen on the ground and they say, what can I then implement? So they also listen to a lot of feedback. And then the other one is eyes. Every entrepreneur has to have eyes, a vision. Entrepreneurs are always looking out. Whenever an entrepreneur is walking, driving or moving, they are always looking around and thinking, in this community, what can I find as an opportunity? They are always looking for gaps. They're always hungry. If they get to a community and they find there's no internet, their next point is to say, if internet is going to cost me 600 emalangeni a month, and I can sell that using coupons to say 20 people at 100 emalangeni a day, or at 50 emalangeni a day, how much money can I make from that? And then they set up that internet office and they start selling internet, because they're looking for opportunity. They find an area with no internet, they set up internet. And that's just an example to say entrepreneurs have sharp eyes. The other, of course, a very key aspect of an entrepreneur is to have heart. Without passion, without desire, without commitment, without drive, you will never be a successful entrepreneur. You need to have a desire and a love for business, a love for products, a love for services, a love for customer service. Just have heart in everything that you do. Always put in a lot of your heart and soul into it. And then, of course, the last but one is your gut feeling. The best entrepreneurs are able to address, they're able to think about an opportunity, then they're able to make up their mind to say, this opportunity is going to be a big one. They trust their gut feeling, they trust their intuition, they trust their mental drive or compass to tell them that, you know what, if I set up here, by December, I'll be making a lot of money. All entrepreneurs have got that gut feeling. It's a spiritual thing. They normally talk about IQ in terms of intelligence, intelligence coded. And then they also talk about EQ, emotional intelligence. And now they are talking about a new thing that is big. They're talking about spiritual intelligence. Are you in line with your spirit? Are you in line with your soul? Is your soul clean enough to be able to pick up opportunities, to see what's happening in your environment, to feel what is happening in your environment, to know this is the right time to register a company, this is the right time to take up that opportunity? It is all about trusting your gut. And then last but not least, it's the yap, which is your mouth. You cannot be an entrepreneur unless you are able to really talk the talk, sell your products, be confident, really go out there and let people know what you're all about, what you want to sell and how you want to sell it. You need to be able to be a person who's a communicator. And communicators are not really born. Some are born, but most of communicators, they go on YouTube, they watch videos, they model themselves around the best communicators in the world. I was never a speaker until I started studying the best public speaking tricks. I've always been an introvert, terrified of crowds, But just by learning and going online and practicing frequently, I ended up being a public speaker, and today I can speak to any crowd without having that sort of nerves. So you definitely need to sharpen that skill and don't say, oh no, for me, public speaking is not for me. Public speaking is for you, and you're going to be a public speaker and you're going to be an entrepreneur to sell your vision and your company. We've said a lot about what it takes to be an entrepreneur, but what is entrepreneurship? What is an entrepreneur overall in terms of just a summary? Because we will take a quiz later on. I'm not giving away anything though, in terms of helping you to win something, but what is entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship, or an entrepreneur, is someone who starts or owns a business or solves a society problem with a service or a product. So it's not only a person selling milk who's an entrepreneur. A person who's also doing social media for a company, designing, graphic design, and that person is also an entrepreneur. A person who is a public speaker who goes and motivates people in schools, in churches, in communities is also an entrepreneur. Anyone who gets paid for his product is an entrepreneur or service. So whether it's in farming, retail, which are shops, manufacturing, or in the service sector, I've just told you about the service sector, talking about graphic designing, photography, videography. Entrepreneurs are just business people who find their success by taking risks. Taking risks because at the end of the day, you will not be able to know whether or not what you're going to try out will work. We all hear the story of Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. You're probably watching this from Facebook. We normally hear about Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, and for many years I believed that Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook from simply sitting in his hostel and deciding on how he's going to connect his friends around the school or college that he was studying in, and boom, he had this app, and then this app became a global phenomenon. Until I watched a video where he was speaking at a graduation, and he said that's not how he started Facebook. He said he had over 15 other apps that he started that all failed. They failed, but they kept on getting him closer and closer to his dream vision of eventually connecting that college. And then one day he tried this app, and he was able to do Facebook, which goes to the issue of taking risks. He took a risk and it worked. And then, of course, in their pursuits, business people or entrepreneurs often become disruptors in established industries. Before Facebook, we all were reliant on websites. We never could think that we would ever interact with the next person online. Yes, there was Mixit, but hey, it was not the same as Facebook and how it has disrupted established industries. Of course, now we're going to what we are gathered for here today, which is all about ideation. Ideation is a very nice English word, but what does it really mean? It means the process of coming up with an idea to go into implementing and then creating a service or a product that you can then sell. That is ideation in terms of the business definition. So, as you can see from my slides, there's a gray, there's the black, and then there's the yellow. You cannot get to the black without first starting out in the gray. You cannot get to implementing without first starting with the gray. At the end of the day, you cannot run or walk without first crawling. So the crawling stage in the establishment of any business, whenever you want to talk about business plans, business startups, is the ideation stage. That is where you vision, you dream, you start plotting in your head how this amazing plan will roll out. So what do you first do when you're planning, in your planning stage? You analyze your business idea. You look at the business value in your head. How much would my business cost to set up? You're still ideating. What tools do I need? You're just dreaming. You're just wish listing. You look at the demand it might have. Do they really need this app? Do they really need these books I want to sell? You look at the skills and dependency. What skill will I need to have to make this dream a reality, this ideation a reality? And then you also look into compliance. How will I be registered? Is this dream that I have able to be registered? Very interesting. With a lot of businesses that we mentor, you find that some of them, maybe somebody wants to go into a drone business. They want to fly around looking at, let's say, mapping properties, looking at where different properties are in the country, or just surveying a land where people are going to be building. In terms of compliance there, you need certificates from various bodies, aviation bodies. There's a lot of compliance. So you may have the idea, but if you do not also include the part of compliance, your idea might just be as good as just an idea and never grow. And then secondly, which we will go into in our second presentation, it will be the business plan. Looking into the company structure, what products and services are you bringing out, what market research will you do, your business strategy, your financial focus. These are all very important elements. Please do stay online for that second part. And then ideation is the start that just eventually leads to implementation. Implementation is now the actual activities of the business. The process is actually churning out that business idea. Governance, how you're governing your business. And then measurement of success and growth of that business. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the first part of our presentation. Still on ideation, we need to then look at the 5 steps. We need to look at the 5 steps that actually help you start a business. I think I will throw in a question later on these 5 steps for those who are online to just share with me. So please do pay a lot of attention to this part of the presentation. The 5 steps of actually ideating or coming up idea generation. The first thing that you need to do is empathize. What is empathizing? Empathizing is actually having a heart and soul, as you saw when we were starting with the whole anatomy or what makes up a business person. We started with looking into having a gut feeling. We started looking at having heart. So the first thing before you can even start a business is to actually feel your environment and develop a deep understanding of the challenges of the environment and the gaps that you would really love to solve. Put yourself in that as the consumer. Become the consumer, the potential consumer of your product. Really embody this idea that you have. Let's make an example of what do you want to set up. Let's say you want to set up an online shop. You want to sell clothes online. We see a lot of that, but it's being done a lot of haphazardly. We have not seen people actually writing out a business plan to say, you know what, yes, I'm getting clothes from South Africa and selling them in the country, but where is the business plan for it? So the first thing is when you're empathizing for an online clothing shop and developing that deep understanding of the challenge, you first have to ask yourself, what's the big challenge? Why would I want to go for an online clothing shop? The first big challenge obviously there is people want unique products. They can go to a store that's already in the country, but you'll find the range is very small. There's usually, let's say, maybe 3 colors of polo necks, 3 colors of jerseys. But online, you can give them a variety of up to 30, 40 colors and makes and sizes. And you find that now you've seen the challenge. That is the challenge. And you want to address that for your clients. And then now, the second stage, which is the orange stage, or amber, as people like to call it, is the definition of the problem. Clearly articulate the problem you want to solve. The problem that you want to solve is you want to give your consumers convenience. You want to give them a seamless process of ordering and getting clothing from anywhere in South Africa into the country seamlessly, instead of them having to go to town, go and buy, stand in queues. So you are solving a problem of time. You are solving a problem of choice, that they don't have a wide choice when they order for themselves. You're also solving a problem of travel. And then the third step is ideating. Ideating, we've gone over it in the first slide of what it all entails. But in detail, you then now want to really brainstorm the potential solution. How can I get these clothes? How can I get them to the people? Now you're really sitting down and unpacking how your business will run. You select and you develop your solution. This is how I'll do it. This is in how many days will it be delivered to the people? How will they pay? How will I order? Who will order for me? How will I get there? What will I call my business name? Where will I be based? How will I reach my customers? This is all part of ideating. And then prototype. This is usually what it works for a lot of product more than it works for a service. A prototype is when you really design, you design the first step of rolling out your service. So let's say you wanted to sell these timers that time your electricity usage, that you put them in the electricity meter and then they tell you how much it's consuming. Before you can sell it to the public, you've ideated it, you've loved it, and now you want to sell it out to the people. You need to first test it. You need to test it with various customers before you actually start advertising to the public. Same thing with the clothes. You need to prototype. Get a few clothes in and out of the country, just see how that works. Are you able to meet the timelines? Are you able to get the clothes as they desire? Do they fit? Are they good quality? So that is the prototyping process of ideation. And then last but not least, it is just engaging in that continuous short cycle of innovation process to continuously improve your product or service or design. So you're continuously doing that until you feel, you know what, the day I start selling, I'll be ready to make sure that I am a super reliable service provider. So that is the 5-step process: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. It's called design thinking process. You're thinking in a design manner. I'm going to take just a short break and we're going to come back and we'll start talking about, now you have the idea, but how do you register that idea? How do you then eventually get your business registered? A very warm welcome back to the JA and MTN Eswatini online training on entrepreneurship. We're here to learn once again about how you can get into the entrepreneurship space, how you can grow and you can sustain yourself in that entrepreneurship space. In the first part of our lessons today, we learned about ideation, how to generate a business idea, how do you even start to say, now I have this idea, how do I make it and turn it into a business? Everybody has an idea, but turning it into a business is a bit difficult. But we did go through the various steps that are needed that you take through your mind as you are thinking about turning that idea into a business. Of course, another step that apart from those 5 steps that I mentioned earlier, that is very important is, of course, market research. You have your idea, but just take it out to the market. Speak to about 10 people. You know what? I'm thinking of selling a bitter leaf door to door, selling the different benefits of drinking bitter leaf, packaging it well, and then you ask people, would you be interested in such a product? That is also a key part of idea generation, to see if your idea will actually make it in the market. That's market research, very essential part of ideation process, because it can be a good idea, but it may not be practical on the market. So you need to test it out until you get it right and refine it here and there. Before we left, when we started off, we were speaking about the 5 steps that it takes to go into a business, to ideate in a business. We had those lovely colors, purple, orange. We had your greens, your blue, each talking to one point that makes up ideation. In the comments section, just for an interaction, may you please just type one of the 5 pillars that I mentioned when I was speaking about ideation. Just type one of the 5 pillars that I mentioned. I can say one of those pillars includes, it starts with an E, and it includes emotions, but it's not the word emotion. It talks to looking out to your environment first and understanding the challenges that the environment has, putting yourself in the shoes of the consumer or the potential consumer of your future product. That's the one that starts with an E. The last one of the 5 starts with the T, and it involves checking out if your product is working, testing it and trying it over and over again. So I've already given you more than a clue in terms of what the 5 are. You need to always have those 5 in your brain. Please do write in the comment section if you are online and watching, and we will get back to those 5 before we close. We are now moving on to the second part of the first presentation. And this is the part that a lot of young people are always asking about. They say, okay, fine, I now have the business idea, I've tested it, I'm ready to go to the market, but I'll go to the market and I'll be told I'm unregistered. Why am I selling this product? Just go and register, then come and sell to me. You're knocking door to door. When they're asking, where is your company registered? And that famous question, where is your office? That they always ask. So you then have to now go into the issues of registration and compliance. It's a very tedious and very cumbersome task to register a company. I will not sit here and tell you it's a 2-hour process. It's not a 2-hour process. But what you need to know about any process that takes long, any process that is tedious, or any process that really takes a long time, it's because it's going to last you for a lifetime. As you know, they're saying easy come, easy go. It's the same with business. Register business using shortcuts. Within 3 months, it will be scraped off the books at the Ministry of Commerce. Register it using the long process. Mine is 13 years old now because I took the legal process. We're going to go through the 11 points that you need to consider when you're going to start a business. Obviously, as you're going through these 11 points, you need to have your ID ready, because it's a crucial part of your registration process. So, number 1, to register your company, you need to have a unique name. So when you're going to register a company, you go online and you type in 3 names that you'd love your company to be called. So it could be called Nolwazi's Clothing Agency, could be called Sipo's Prosperous Pigs. It could be called okay, because now we're looking at one particular business. So you put 3 names of that one business. So it's Nolwazi's Clothing Line, Nolwazi's Style Line, or Beautiful Clothes Online. So you put in those three names. Why do you put in 3 names? Because when you're going through the registration process, you might want to call your business Style, only to find that there's a company called Style that's already registered, and it will reject that first name. If you want to call it Nolwazi Style, it's very likely that you'll find that still open and unregistered. Or if you want to call it Nolwazi Style Mbekelweni, to even make it easier for it to not have a duplicated name, you could also go for that route. So the name also of a company is very important. A lot of people like to register names that are special to them. You find it calling a nickname that they had at school, Madlebe Agency, for example. And you ask yourself, when you see that name, maybe these guys are selling wood, these guys are selling paint, but they are calling themselves Madlebe Agency, and it doesn't really speak to the business. And for a person who's rushing and looking for a business that they can quickly get paint from, when they Google on Facebook, your name is not going to come up. Your name will come up if they're making jokes about ears, they're making jokes about famous Eswatini joking names, but it won't come up when now the crux of the matter is, and you want your business to pop up. So make sure when you go for those 3 names, you register with an easily identifiable Madlebe's Paint Company. Yes, you can go for that one, but lo paint akabe khona kuleli gama. So interestingly, this can be done online, www.online.gov.sz, and a reply is issued immediately with no cost, just to tell you that that name is available or not available. And that number 1, I'm sticking to it because that is the birth of your company. So as you're ideating, you must constantly be writing down the dream name of your company. I wrote down the name of my company many years before it was opened. I think for 3 years I had it in a piece of paper, just writing it down and imagining it one day coming to life. I'd even draw a logo of it to say, you know, one day when my company is registered, it would look like something like this. So when the opportunity came for me to register my company, I had no problem with filling in the unique name that this calls for. And then number 2, you then go to the process of paying the reservation name of the company. Just want to check something here. Yeah. I wanted to also include how long this process takes. Yeah, the number 1 process, it takes less than a day, online procedure. And then the paying the name and of the reservation and registration fee, because it's one thing to reserve, but to commit yourself. So that only takes 1 day. You can immediately pay that at the Revenue Authority. And then number 3, obtain a tax clearance for company directors. Now you've got your ID card. You go to Eswatini Revenue Authority and you register for a tax identification number so that you can get a tax clearance. Once you have a tax clearance, you are now in a position to open that company. Because to register a new company, each founder must obtain an income tax statement and clearance. That only takes 1 day. It costs emalangeni 00. Number 4, you then need to prepare the memorandum and articles of association online. Most entrepreneurs are now using standard forms available online for the memorandum and articles of association. This memorandum and articles of association is basically what your business will be all about. You just talk about it. It's almost a mini a small version or a profile of your business, and an agreement to say you are going into business. This is who will be part of your business. This is where you'll be based. And it takes about 2 days to fill that in, and then you print it out and you prepare it to be ready for going to the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade. Very important part of the registration process. Now you have your forms ready, you've got your tax clearance as a director. You move on and go all the way up to the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade in the capital city of Mbabane. You go to the company register, that's the department you look for. Company registration is also, however, available online. You only need to have these documents. The first one is a memorandum of an article of association. You need to have 3 copies of those that we spoke about in number 4. The 3 copies, it includes 1 that is original, 1 that is going to be filed, and 1 copy that you're going to own, because it is a very essential part. 3 copies. And then you need the government revenue receipts for the registration that you did in point number 2 when you were reserving the name, that 50 Emalangeni. You also need a copy of the applicant's ID card. You remember we spoke about the ID being very close to you in this process. You need a receipt of the successful reservation of the company name. We've spoken about that. And this process takes about 2 days. And then the government revenue receipt I was talking about is the one that is actually talking to company reservation. This whole process takes 2 days, and it will cost you about 1.5 upwards, depending on the processes that you will follow. Here, where I'm reading from, it says 1,845 Emalangeni. So already you can start writing down the figures that will bring your business into a reality. And then the next process, we can go on to the next slides. The last 5 processes that are very important when you're registering a business. You need to show that your business is ready to operate. So it just needs a bit of money in a bank account. So you pay money into a bank account. That is your capital. Capital could even be 50 Emalangeni, as long as it's going to get you started, making phone calls and telling people about potential, that, hey guys, I'm operating. So you must then deposit the company's paid in capital and get yourself a bank statement from the bank. And then you then now going into point number 7. You remember when we started, you were getting your personal tax identification number in order to start the process of registering a company. Now you need the company tax identification number. Yes. And the company's founders must inform the tax authority about the new company establishment, and then you get a unique number. When you're doing business, that number will always be asked for. What is your tax identification number? Because you cannot do business without paying tax. And then moving on to point number 8, you need to have a health inspection. Now you've already got offices. You look for offices, get offices, sign a lease, and then you invite the ministry or the health department or city council to come and review your offices, and they give you a signature. They sign off to say they are fit for human inhabitation, that a human being can operate from those offices. It takes 1 day, and the costs are included in the license cost. And then now, the fun part and the most important part of your business registration is number 9, requesting and obtaining a trading license. All companies require a trading license. And to obtain a trading license, the company requests a hearing from the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade. The ministry then publishes a notice in the daily newspaper at least three business days before the hearing, allowing you and companies to object to the company's formation in case there is some controversies surrounding your formation. So it has to be advertised Perhaps you want to go into a business that was already there, or that someone may feel that they would not, they may have an objection about it. But usually, by the time you reach this process, you would have known from the reservation stage, from the point of interaction with the registrar of companies, that this company can fly, it can be registered. And companies must submit a certificate of incorporation, which is one of the documents you get after paying the 1.8. And then the following documents must be submitted before the hearing and can be obtained while waiting for the hearing. Number 1, bank statement. Number 2, lease agreement. Number 3, company tax registration. We spoke about that. Number 4, certificate of inspection. Number 5, again, the memorandum and article of association. And number 6, the receipt of license fee payment. License fee can be anything from 50 emalangeni to 10,000 emalangeni. So it depends on the type of business that you are registering. And this process takes 12 or less days. And then you pay the license fee, that's number 10. It takes 1 day. And then you register with the Provident Fund for, that's number 11. Register with the Provident Fund if you're going to have employees under you. And then last but not least, you also look to register your employees under the compensation insurance. These are the 12 steps that you have to take in order to register a business in the Kingdom of Eswatini. They are very straightforward steps. These steps are available online. You go into the government website. It will clearly remind you about each and every one of the steps, helping you to put everything in order into a nice envelope, nice file. And as you are running around with your certified copy of your ID, you are going through this process. I do know a lot of young people that I've mentored. They've gone this process on their own, without a middleman. Gone the process, gone out, asked around and said, hey, now I have my ID, what next? Now I have a lease agreement, what next? They've run around and they've come back to me, sent me on my WhatsApp to say, hey, mentor, I have fully registered my company. I do know one is a window cleaner. He cleans all these company big windows that you find of high-story buildings. He was doing it without a company registration. He went through all the registration process, and he is now fully registered with a tax clearance, with everything. And now he's doing business. He goes online. He looks at tenders that come out of the procurement authority. He grabs those tenders. Now he's making more money than he was making when he was unregistered. Because when you're unregistered, you can't do business with other companies. You can only clean windows of homes, clean windows of cars. But now when you really want to clean a big building, you'll have a challenge. So he has been very successful in doing that. So before we conclude our first session, we also need to look at Eswatini in general. What's the overview? We're speaking about cleaning windows, we're speaking about selling clothes. What are the sectors that young people in the country are ideating from? There was a survey done by the United Nations Development Program some many years ago, just giving an overview of youth entrepreneurship in Eswatini. They looked at what young people really open companies in which sectors, and it was found that the number one sector is services. And you look at services, it is about young people, it is innovation, it is graphic design, it is social media management, it is videography, it is photography, it is a lot of wide range of services. And 58% of those young people are actually into the service industry. And the second one, there was also tourism, there was also entertainment, there was contractors, there was construction, there was supplying, and then last but not least, there was manufacturing. Obviously, in a country that wants to develop rapidly, you are looking at having more into manufacturing because the returns are much higher there. And services like graphic design, marketing are popular together with arts. Arts is the most popular form of self-employment. We all want to be the next DJ Waffles and Uncle Waffles and travel the whole world. So many young people are jumping into that space because it's not just music, it is now a business. It's called the creative economy, and young people are really jumping into that in one form or the other. Physical retail, unfortunately for young people, is lagging behind. It's lagging extremely behind. Yet when you look at young people and you look at their customer service and their ability to attract people to buy from them, you would expect more young people to be having shops around the country, to be selling from catering businesses, but it's not happening. And you find instead it's the older generation that are running supermarkets, that are running shops. And that is something that needs to change. Young entrepreneurs need to go into retail. They need to innovate in the retail space, and they need to start moving into it and dominating. Moving along, we're also looking into the innovative opportunities in 2023 to embrace youth entrepreneurship. Eswatini, there's a quote that is there that says, Eswatini would benefit from a digital revolution. Eswatini would benefit from a digital revolution with the potential to drive sustained and inclusive economic growth and provide much needed jobs to the country's workforce. This statement was published by the World Bank in 2023. They were basically saying to drive and provide economic growth and provide much needed jobs to the country's young workforce, we all need to talk digital now. That is where the space is. Yes, I was talking about retail shops that are physical, but now we need to go into those online retail shops, and young people need to drive that. Agriculture is one of the biggest opportunities, however, for young people. It is, however, not popular for young people, yet it has a lot of markets, it has a lot of funding, and young people really need to consider jumping into agriculture. It is an instant ideating, instant implementation from there. And then vocational products or businesses also have a good cash flow. If you're into woodwork, if you're into anything that includes technical skills, it has good cash flow. Plumbing. On Saturday, I was speaking to students from the domestic wiring. There was about 20 young women who are doing domestic electrical wiring. That will tell you something about how much money technical skills have. If young women are now jumping into it and saying, hey, I want to wire up the next house that's being built, because it's instant cash and it goes straight into your pocket. And then, of course, freelancing is a huge income generator for any startup. A short quiz, if you are in the comment section. Which of the following statements are true or false? Please beam up the questions. We have a quiz. It says, which of the following statements are true or false? An entrepreneur runs a business only to make profits. True or false? Please write in the comment section and say A, false, A, true. B, entrepreneurship and businesses are exactly the same. Is that true or false? Number C, in service business activity, the services are intangible and cannot be felt or seen. Is it true? Is it false? D, in manufacturing business activity, an entrepreneur makes the product. Is that true? Is that false? Or are they all the above true, or all the above false? Or option C, I don't know. And then the second part of our quiz is, who is an entrepreneur? What makes an entrepreneur? We spoke about this when we started our training today. Give an example of an entrepreneur. And then B, what are the three types of business activities? What are the three types of business activities? There is a hint in A, section D. There's a hint in C as well. And then BC, what skills do you need to be an entrepreneur? What skills do you need to be an entrepreneur? Moving right along to our last slide before we take a break so that you can do that quiz. We've spoken a lot about ideating. We've spoken a lot about registration of businesses. We've spoken a lot about opportunities that are there in the market for young people when they have started the business. And now we want to know where young people can actually go and get that startup capital, get that support for their business vision and dream. Obviously, the first point is the Ministry of Sports, Youth and Culture. They have a lot of programs that are there, especially under the Eswatini National Youth Council. We have the Youth Enterprise Revolving Fund. It's now open all year. I mentioned that now open all year because a lot of young people have been expressing their concern that if they miss the window that the Youth Fund has opened, they then cannot be able to fulfill their business idea. Yet at that particular point in time, there was a market. Yet you find that the Youth Fund was closed for application. So now the good news is it's open all year. You have an idea today, go register it and go straight to the Youth Fund and submit it. Eswatini National Youth Council has a lot of mentorship program, business incubation programs. They even fly people out to Cape Town. Recently, they flew over 30 young people for 2 months or so, fully paid for, to just learn from businesses, from bigger businesses. But if you stay on their Facebook page, you will find a lot of information about such programs. Junior Achievement Eswatini has a lot of programs. Just tomorrow, they'll be going all over the country. Tomorrow they will be at the FLAS, or on the 7th actually, they'll be at the FLAS boardroom in Manzini on the 7th of June, doing a business tour at 9:30 a.m. So you can already see it's not just about talking. They also want to speak to you, help you register that business, help you develop that business concept. That's for the Manzini region. For the whole region, they'll be going to Pixpeak Town Council Chamber on the 9th of June. Please make sure you make your way there. For Lubombo, they'll also get to Lubombo. Stegi Town Council Hall on the 14th of June 2023. It's part of the 21 days MTN Yellow Care and the partnership with MTN Eswatini. And Shiselweni, Junior Achievement Eswatini team, with mentors, with business trainers, with all the people that you need that are technical, that can help you start and grow your business. They will be at the Nhlangano Water Services Auditorium on the 16th of June. All the times are 9:30 a.m. But in order to get an opportunity to win or be awarded 10,000 Emalangeni seed capital, you need to submit a business plan. You send to an email at jaswaziland.org, and the deadline for submission was yesterday. However, you can still go to those business tours and get more information for future trainings that they will be hosting. That is Junior Achievement Eswatini, and there are various empowerment programs. On the 19th, of course, Junior Achievement Eswatini will be at the Mavuso Trade Center, where they'll be hosting a business shower for the whole week. And again, there's 10,000 Emalangeni there for different industries that will be able to convince the angel investors of their products, of their service, of their business. And how do you do it? Start today, ideate, we spoke about it, and start the business plan process, and then take that business plan down to Mavuso and go and convince funders to help you get it off the ground. It is possible. And then we also have municipalities and their youth programs. We also, it's not thank you yet, let's go up. We also have municipalities and their youth programs. They also help young people with various programs and mentorship. Then we also have financial institutions. We also have financial institutions with the youth-centric products. And then last but not least, we have internet and social media, which help with giving you resources. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had 1 hour and 15 minutes of a business mentoring session, the first part of the day. It's been, I hope it's been eye-opening. I hope you learned a few things, and I hope you'll be typing onto those resources, www.gov.sz. Go there, Google about all the requirements of how to open a business in Eswatini. I've listed a long list of organizations I need you to press like on, to be kept in touch on the various programs that they're offering for young people, that they're offering in terms of seed capital. You heard me, 10,000 emalangeni is being given away this week. It's being given away next week. So you really, really need to stay with your ear on the ground. You remember when we started, we spoke of the anatomy of a business person, that they have their ear on the ground, exactly like a person who wants to know where the next party is at. When he's sitting in his house and he hears the music, he puts his ear on the ground and asks, where is the music coming from, and follows the beat. So do entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs put their ear on the ground and they look for the next funding opportunity, the next trading opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Natikule. I'll be back after 30 minutes for the second part and the last part of our session. See you then. A very, very warm welcome back to our entrepreneurship online training brought to you by Junior Achievement Eswatini in collaboration with MTN Eswatini as part of the 21 days of yellow care aimed at empowering entrepreneurs, youth entrepreneurs around the country as a catalyst for creating employment opportunities. This initiative is part of the 21 days so that young people can get the knowledge that they need in order to make their business dreams come true. When we started today's session, we started it off with idea generating, looking at how to actually start an idea in your mind and build it into a business that can give you money and revenue and also create employment for yourself and others. We went through the various different elements that make up in terms of design thinking and how you are able to sit and go through the different processes towards making that dream a reality. One of the questions that I asked as part of the quiz before we went on the break was, what exactly are the 5 main points that you need to consider when you are doing ideating, when you're coming up with a business idea? And of course, the answers to those who attempted, it was to empathize, which is developing an understanding of the challenge while you're just daydreaming about this idea. You first have to put your heart and soul into the daydreaming process. Then you now go technical. Number 2 is to define. Now you want to define, okay, I want to sell clothes, but now how do I want to sell clothes? You're now defining, narrowing into your idea. And then after that, you go into the ideation process, get out that big white paper and start mapping up and brainstorming how really you want to roll it out. And then once you've gotten there, you then go on to the 4th step, which is prototype. Now you want to try and see how the look and feel. I know some guys were making a roll-on during the Junior Achievement Schools contest last year. They were doing roll-on, and it was made out of porridge, yes, porridge, and water. And they were saying it lasts a long time. And they started from empathizing, looking at the costs of, and looking at the need that, many people in the rural areas struggle to get access to roll-ons. They also, when they do have access, they cannot afford the roll-on. That is the empathizing, looking at the situation on the ground, identifying the gap. They went on to then define, to say, okay, how do we want to solve this problem? We need to come up with a cheaper solution. Cheaper solution for them was to go out, start recycling old roll-ons, and then create a new roll-on, in the sense that they put in the water and porridge. I don't know the process, but eventually, boom, there was a roll-on there that was affordable for students to use. And then they ideated, that was part of the ideation process, how are we going to put these products together and come up with a roll-on. And then the prototype process, here it is now, let's test it. Does it have allergies? Does it give people any bad side effects? They tested it. It worked. They brought it to the competition last year to try and also compete with it. And now that is their product. They are now in the testing phase. They're continuing and they're rolling it out where they can. So those are the 5 processes. If you attempted, it was empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and finally test. You do not have to take my word for it, because some people are watching at home and saying, this guy is going yap, yap, yap. But we need to hear someone else speak on ideation, idea generation. We've got a video for you, a cartoon video, but a very clear cartoon professor who's going to give us just a 3-minute sort of summary of the idea generating process. I hope the video is ready. Okay, enjoy.
Hi there, I'm Professor Larry Flint. Thank you. Now let's talk about entrepreneurship and the process of idea generation to start a new business. Entrepreneurship, the starting of a new business, is such an important topic today. So how do you come up with an idea for a new business? Look at recent history, Airbnb and Uber. How did they start? Airbnb began in 2008 when two designers who had space to share hosted three travelers looking for a place to stay. The company is now worth about $30 billion, all based on the need for people to find reasonable lodging. Uber was founded in 2009 when two entrepreneurs were trying to figure out how to reduce the cost of local transportation. It is now worth about $62.5 billion, all based on the need for reasonable local transportation. What prompted the basic idea for these relatively new startups? It really comes down to one word: need. There is an old cliche about coming up with a new business idea: find a need and fill it. Well, that's important, but possibly oversimplified. At a higher level, when looking for a new business idea, there are two possibilities. Number one, take an existing product, service, or idea and modify or improve on it. Ask yourself, isn't there a better way? Number two, you can come up with a brand new idea that has never been done before, an idea that may be transformational, like Thomas Edison and the light bulb. Of course, there is less risk in taking the first option than the second, but that should not stop you in your pursuits. The key word in both cases is innovation. Another cliche is necessity is the mother of invention. Of course, that relates back to need, doesn't it? However, the idea here is to look at what is bugging you. Start your brainstorming with problems that you are personally invested in or passionate about. Another important aspect of idea generation is that the product or service must solve a problem. In the cases of Airbnb and Uber, they solve the problems of finding a place to stay and getting from one place to another at reasonable rates. Another thing important to idea generation is insanely obvious. Simply be present in life. Ask yourself, how can I create a business that simplifies or improves the lives of many people? To close this short talk on entrepreneurship and idea generation, it is important to realize that an idea is only that until you do something with it. Entrepreneurs must discover the strategies to deliver the new innovative solution to the market.
Welcome back, class. That was just a refresher video on the ideation process. I did get a message, an SMS, speaking to saying, I just joined in the middle of this session. Can you please just refresh us on what you were teaching on so that I can follow for the next session? So I thought to just play that video so that you can just get up to speed of this idea generation that we're talking about all morning. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're moving on to the second part of, I actually have the Junior Achievement Manual here. It's called the JA Entrepreneurship Development Manual. This manual actually helps you get through the business planning stage and just coming up with your company in all the way. It talks about Hey, we're back, class. Sorry about that slight glitch. We are back and fully back for the next hour as we complete our class for today, which is entrepreneurship. And then tomorrow, of course, we will be talking about how to pitch your business idea to potential funders, frequently asked questions by funders, and how to answer them correctly. It's going to be an exciting session. I love pitching. I love the pitching side, because that is where you make or break your business. I have in my hands, of course, the Junior Achievement Eswatini manual. This manual has in it components of how to do a business plan, each step-by-step way of how to write a business plan. The required steps involved in producing a product. It speaks about production steps. Production is an essential part of the business plan. The need for the product, looking at the SWOT analysis, the market analysis as well is very essential. And we also look into pricing. We look into competition analysis. It just has every detail. You can try get your copy from Junior Achievement Eswatini, but I also have my own presentation. When you talk about business plans, generally, you can go onto the web. There's different forms of them. They have different wordings. Another person will call it production, another person will call it operations. They all mean the same thing. We just want to know how your business will run. Another one will call it financial, another one will call it budget, another one will call it numbers or whatever. But the bottom line, we all want the same information. Ladies and gentlemen, so now we're starting the second presentation, the second session, which is the startup business plan outline. What is the outline of a business plan? Some of you may know it, some of you may not. Those who do know it, you do need to refresh yourself. You do need to look at how you can refine the business plan to be powerful, to be viable, to be one that is worthy of being adopted by potential partners. So that is our first slide. The first thing that goes on, that's slide number 2. The first thing that goes on into a business plan is basically, if you were to be making a presentation in front of potential funders, the first thing that you would want to tell them or have in your business plan, written business plan and presentation, you would have to have a bold mission statement. My name is Natikule, and I am here to help rid, my company is here to help rid the country of hazardous waste and turning that waste into economical revenue for myself. So I'm doing two things. I'm saving the environment. At the same time, I'm also making money. Waste management, by the way, is one of the leading businesses in the country. In 2020, when we had Entrepreneurship World Cup, there were a company that represented the country at the World Cup was EcoBuzz, an AI waste management company, raking in lots and lots of money per year. So their bold mission statement would obviously be something like turning trash into treasure, because they are using trash to make money. And I saw a quote last week. It said, being dirty doesn't mean being broke. So going to industries like waste management is actually a very lucrative industry. So your bold mission statement, if you're into clothing, your bold mission statement would be, our company seeks to dress you and make you look funky and comfortable and hot, and you know, just that mission statement. What are you about? What do you stand for? What are your values? What is your brand? So we'll also be looking today on the outline. The outline that I'm going to be using has a simple 7 steps that each and every business plan must have a description of the product. That's basically the executive summary. The executive summary also has the objectives of the business. What do you want to do? It also has the market and competition. It must also have your strategy. How will you do it? It must also have operations. It must also have financials. And appendix is not the appendix that you have if you're not feeling sick. If you're feeling sick, this appendix is the one that says an attachment of other important documents. First and foremost, product. Are we moving together in terms of the slide? Product. We move on to the next slide. When you talk of product, what is it that you are building? So if you're writing a presentation, you would have a slide where you give a quick overview of the product or service that you are working on. when you're doing this quick overview, just keep it clear and very simple. You'll get into the details later. One of the worst things that happen with business plans, you get a business plan and you read 3-4 pages and you're still asking the person who has written a business plan, what are you selling? What are you doing? They're busy telling you they're based in Pixpic, they're based in Stegi, but they're not getting to telling you about the product. The first and foremost thing that you need to do when you do a business plan, tell me very quickly, clearly and simply what your product and service you are working on. The second step is also define the big problem you are here to solve. And here, this is where market analysis comes in. We spoke about it in the first part of our presentation today, where we said when you're ideating and you're saying, you know, I have an idea of collecting litter around the country, collecting trash around the country. You need to then, in your presentation, to potential funders, to potential supporters, explain just how big the waste issue is in the country. Today is World Environment Day, by the way, so I will make examples of waste a lot. So you need to state how climate change is affecting countries, affecting Eswatini, how it's affecting the community you want to run your business in, and then also here you can see these percentages. People don't just want to hear a thumb-sucked kind of summary. They also want to hear in terms of numbers. Here it says 64% of people I spoke to complained about this problem. So now you're giving the potential funder a real life overview. You get this 64% from what is called a market research. And then 82% are extremely unhappy with current solutions. So you're saying, yes, while there may be people picking up trash, but they are not taking everything, the streets are still dirty. And then 51% said they are ready to pay so much money for a solution. So when you do your market research, basically all you do, you write 3 questions. You say, 1, what is the problem with trash in your community? Then they give you the answers, you get that 64%. And then you ask them, number 2, are you happy with the way it's currently being solved? They answer, you get that 82. And then lastly, you ask them, if you were to pay for a new product, how much would you be willing to pay? Simple. And then you then have to describe your solution in a simple, clear, short sentence, a one-liner that makes it shine. I am EcoBuzz. I am here to clean the streets using a group a crew that is fast and efficient, as well as a truck that will go around taking the trash. You go into the differentiators. There's different companies already doing this. So now you need to talk about your unique value proposition. What makes your company unique? You want to sell clothes, but what's unique about your clothes? Oh, okay, your clothes are, I don't know, they are only made of cotton, while others are using a different material. What makes you a unique, 100% cotton kind of company, and that is what makes you unique? Or what makes you unique is that you only sell to plus size people. You don't sell any other sizes. You sell to a specific market. There has to be a differentiator about your company. As you can see, number 1, what's your number 1 differentiator? It's the size of people I'm selling to. What sets me apart? It's my quality. I only sell 100% cotton. The third reason your product is special, it's also special because it's longer lasting, or it has more colors and so on and so forth. So differentiators, it's also mostly known as unique value proposition in many business plans, and funders love to know that. How does your product work? This is if you're going for an online store. You're going to explain your product, name the features, how to click, how to get to where. If you're doing videography, you need to explain to them how you do your live shoots. You've got 3 cameras. You've got systems that are able to go, and you've got Wi-Fi, internet. You explain all these things to say how really your product works. And then number 2 is very important to then explain your objectives. It is a lot in terms of the slides here and explaining a business plan, because at the end of the day, if you're planning, If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So you need to have a very good business plan. What's your number one objective? Ensuring Eswatini is green, clean, and to turn the trash into treasure, make revenue. That's your number one objective of going into a business. Number two, what's your second goal here? It's to grow the company and reach out to even other regions and towns. It could be many goals that you can have, and you can also have a dead goal. Number three, very important, your market and your competition. When you talk of the market and the competition, you can't go into already, when you talk about waste management, there's about 10 companies already doing it. So you need to then define to your potential funder that you are aware of the market. Who are the people you want to serve? I was doing a business plan for waste management the other day, and the initial business plan only had a target market of residents. It said, I want to go to residents, knock on their door, take trash, and go and sell to the buyback center and those people, and they'll give me money. And I took that business plan, tore it apart, and started working together with the business person. We started going into detail to say, you know what, the target market is way bigger than that. In your community, you've got schools. Do you have schools? He said, yes. I said, how many? He said, maybe 6. I say, list them. That's one of your target market. Number 2, do you have shops in your community? He said, plenty. We listed them. Went back, residents, definitely. He listed them. Hospitals, the list became huge. He had a bigger target market, which is more convincing now to a potential funder. And then you go down, you then unpack it even more. You start with the geography of your market. You want to give the funder an idea of who these people actually do exist. Where do your customers live? This is what we were discussing earlier about them being in schools, in different areas. And do they thrive in big cities or rural areas? Describe what it is. The demographics, who are these people? We broke that business plan down to students, to teachers, to nurses, to people who work at banks. We broke it down to churches. We went down to the bare minimum. What do they do for a living? We broke that down. These are all the people who are going to be giving us business. The spending habits, we broke that down as well. What do they most likely spend on? And then a fun fact, you could also have a bonus points for any interesting observations about your target customers. And then also, you need to look into the market trends. You want to go into waste management, but how are your competitors behaving? Who are they selling to? When are they selling? Why are they selling? And how are they selling? Look at those trends. And also, how is the market responding in terms of selling? Even with the clothes idea, I was saying, are they buying? How many times are they buying clothes? You need to understand your customers and then outline it in the business plan so that people are fully aware that this business, if you go into it, at least a week won't pass without you having a customer, because you have illuminated on the presentation just how frequent people buy, its market trends. And then you come in market trend number 2, it's research, spending patterns, and then is there part of the market that isn't being served? I was asking one lady in Pixpic, she sells clothes. Asked her, who are you selling to? She said, oh, no, I'm just selling to my friends. I said, have you started selling to people within the city center, going office by office and saying, look, I'm selling clothes. Can you please support me? She said, no, I hadn't. That is a market that wasn't being served. She got it, and she started making more profits than she was making. And then we're going on to the competitors. You need to look at your landscape that you're competing in. You need to be clear that you're aware that you've got competition. You can't grow or thrive in a business without knowing your environment, knowing how many people are selling clothes, because you might be selling and not getting customers, but it's because there are a lot of other people doing the exact same. You need to know them, know how you're going to approach and beat the competition. And knowing how to beat the competition is called strategy. What is your strategy? What is your business model? This is the part where you then unpack, your business model. How are you going to make money? Explain exactly how you're going to be, how you're going to be charging for, what you're going to be charging for, and why your payment model is the best way forward. And then how will you charge for the product? People say pay 50% up front, pay after deliveries, and how will you acquire new customers? Your marketing strategy. So this is the go-to-market strategy. People use social media, they use print media, they do public launches, they use websites. That's the beta there. What is your go-to-market strategy? Is it word of mouth? Are you going to door by door? And then obviously it then goes into a marketing strategy. You have phase 1 of your strategy, you have phase 2 of your strategy, you have phase 3 of your strategy, you have phase 4 of your strategy. This I'll unpack even further in a video that I'll be sharing in a few minutes. So do not worry about me moving a bit forward there. And then your operations. How does your company, how will it operate? What are the processes that you will use? That's number 1. How will you run things so that you deliver value for your customers? This has to be articulated in your business plan. What are the tools, equipment that your company will need and you will be using? And last but not least, the most important tool is the human resource, the most important ingredient for your startup's big future. And then also in the business plan, I've judged many junior achievement Eswatini competitions, and I always rush to the management team page. I always want to look there to see, yes, you want to sell clothes, yes, you want to do waste management, but how competent is the team that you're working with? What are their skills? What are their strengths? Who are they? And what experience do they have in problem solving? Because you do not necessarily have to have experience in that particular field. But if you're a good problem solver, you're good in teamwork, and have demonstrated that in various projects, we want to know so that we can have confidence that indeed you have the capability. And of course, in this team, you'll usually have the CEO, then you'll usually have the marketing, and then you usually have finance as part of that startup team. Those are the 3 core people in a startup team. And then the financials, this one, it always gets people having a headache, because they ask themselves, how will we get to unpack all the financials? I do know that in many high schools now, there are business studies. We used to do account during our time at school, but now there's business studies, which is even better to help you understand and how to unpack financials. And if you still do not know, you can always reach out and look for an expert who will help you unpack. Just give them all the details of how you want to make your money, and then you can come up with financials of how you'll have revenue, how much sales you wish to make, your expenses, operating expenses, and also income tax, and then you'll then come up with how much income you will make roughly in a year. And then also financial projections are very important. There's a cash flow plan that you have to produce. There's the break-even plan that you also have to produce. These are all part of a basic business plan, and some business plans have a 5-year projection to say year 1, no profit, year 2, no profit, year 3, I'll start making profit, so that the funder can know that when paying back the loan, you might not pay it immediately fully within the first 2 years, but over a spread of 5 years, you will be able to pay it. And then lastly, you need to ask for funding. I've read a lot of business plans. They never have this part where it says, okay, but for me, for my startup to work, it needs A, B, C, D, E. So this is where you then ask for funding. And then last but not least, when a person has read your business plan, they want to go to documents they can refer to. For example, you want to start a company and you're saying, I want to do nails. You want to do nails, you then list the equipment that you'll need for nails. You'll also list the expenses of running that sort of beauty parlor. So the expenses will obviously include office rent. So what you do, you go and get a quotation from the potential office. You put it as part of the appendix. You go and get the cost of the nail machine. You put it as part of the appendix. You go and get the materials that you'll be using to put on the nails. You put it as an appendix, so that when the potential funder reads you saying you need 10,000, 15,000 to start this, they'll go to the end and they'll see that it is realistic costs that are based at current level. So these are very important. And also the CVs, you remember I spoke about that yes, I've seen your team, but how capable are they? A detailed description of each of your products and services. Organizational charts are always good. Photos and designs of your products are also very, very important. The market research, when you're asking them and getting level 62%, then also just detail that four-pager of the market research. That, in a nutshell, is trying to cram 33 slides into just 15 minutes, making it bite-sized. And obviously, you can't, in just one sitting, absorb all that it entails to have to do a business plan. But this presentation was just mainly about giving you an outline, mainly about giving you an idea of the different components that come into a business plan. And to get a template, a free template of a business plan that Junior Achievement Eswatini is using, you can just simply contact Junior Achievement Eswatini. They will email you, WhatsApp you a copy of a business plan, and you can then start filling in line by line, and you can get a mentor to go through it over you. Junior Achievement Eswatini will provide that for you so that you start the step. Why do you need a business plan? We spoke earlier. Junior Achievement Eswatini is going around regional tours. There's 10,000 to be won as seed capital. Next week, there's the business shower. Again, there's various 10,000s that you can get to win. So you need to start doing that business plan. Ideate, as the first presentation had said. Move on. Now start doing the business plan. From today, start working on your business plan. And as I take a break, I'd like to call on a video that is just going to be a refresher and then summarize in detail the different components and outline of a business plan. She will speak much slower than me, and you will be able to absorb it. Thank you.
12 years ago, I started my first business, and I started with absolutely nothing. I don't just mean I started with no money. I started with no money, no skills, no plans, barely even any ideas. And let's just say that was a tough way to start. It's tough to build something successful when you don't even know what you're trying to build. After working for myself for several years, I finally got around to coming up with a plan. It was messy, it took me forever to write, and honestly, not really that useful as a finished document. But the process of writing the plan allowed me to create a lot of clarity for myself about what my objectives for the business were and how I would reach them. Within the next 2 years, I had more than doubled the size of my business, hiring a staff of 12 people to run it for me and attracting hundreds of new customers. Since that time, I've written quite a few business plans, both for my own companies and for those of my clients. And at this point, I've developed a system to streamline the entire process. Not only making it faster and simpler, but also way more useful in a really practical way. If you want to get your business organized and start strategically increasing your profits and growing towards your goals, then keep on watching. This business plan has 6 main sections, and I'd recommend that you start by scribbling your ideas for each on a separate blank piece of paper. Once you get your ideas worked out, you can create one cohesive document. The 6 pages of your business plan are 1. Overview, 2. Message, 3. Marketing, 4. Product, 5. Production and delivery, and finally 6. Goals. The first page of your business plan will be an overview. It's going to give a basic understanding of what your company does and the structure of your company. Now, you're seeing me write it down here in my sloppy, messy handwriting. However, I've typed up a nice, neat version for you to use for yourself. So if you want a copy of that, just check the description down below. It's completely free and you can use it to write your own business plan. In that first overview page of your business plan, you want to include your business name, your company structure, the location where you do business, and also a brief description of exactly what your company actually does. The next piece of information for your company's overview is your company's mission. And this is really important because it's the driving force behind your business plan. It's what all your plans are focused towards achieving. And if you don't have a mission, it's like trying to make plans to reach a goal without having a goal. So make sure you don't skip this step. The final component of the overview page is your chart of accountability. Now, this chart describes who is accountable for which of the major tasks involved in running the business. And the three main areas of accountability in most businesses are marketing and sales, operations, and finances. The second page of your business plan will focus on outlining your company's message. It's really important if you want your business to be successful that you have a clear idea of what message you are working to communicate to your customers. Who are those customers? How do you fit into their lives? And how can you help them solve a problem that they're facing and create a result that they're looking for? As you can see here, the questions that you'll want to answer on this page of your business plan include: what problem does your company solve for your customers? What result does your company create for those customers? How does your company create those results? Who does your company serve? Why do you do what you do? Why should your customers choose you over your competition? And then finally, what is your company's step-by-step plan for creating those results for the customer, or what is your proprietary system? This both helps to answer the question, what sets you apart from your competition, and it also shows your customers how you're going to create those results that you're promising, which will give them much greater confidence in your ability to create the results. Okay, now let's move on and talk about the third page of your business plan. This page focuses on marketing and generating sales. First of all, you'll want to define your target market by their demographics and their psychographics. Demographics are attributes such as their age, their income, where they live, whereas psychographics have to do with their interests, their desires, and their fears. Here, you'll also want to include an estimated size of your target market, and even more important than that is where you have identified that you can find groups of those target customers. And here's a little big hint. If you haven't yet figured out where you can find groups of those customers, be it online or off, you're probably going to have trouble successfully marketing your product or service that you sell. So if you come to this part in the business plan and you don't know what to put here, you're probably going to want to do some research and make sure that this target customer that you have defined with the demographics and the psychographics is someone who you actually can find groups of, because if you can't find a group of them, then you might want to consider redefining that target customer and slightly pivoting your marketing position. The final three pieces of information that I recommend you include on this page of your business plan are your visibility strategy, which explains how people will first learn about your brand and about your products, your lead generation strategy, which explains how you will establish contact with the people who have discovered your brand, and then finally your conversion strategy, which is essentially your sales strategy. It explains how you're going to turn those leads that you've generated into paying customers. Here's a quick aside. As you're working through this business plan for yourself, it's more than likely that you won't know the answers to all of these questions and you won't have all these things figured out yet. And I just want to let you know that that is completely all right. And actually, one of the main purposes of writing your business plan is to become aware of those things that you haven't thought about yet, or that you haven't figured out, or that you don't know. Because only once you're aware of what you don't know will you be able to figure those things out. So don't put off writing the business plan because you don't know everything yet, but rather write the business plan so that you can get very clear on exactly what you do know and what you need to figure out. All right, now let's move on to the fourth page of your business plan. This page describes the product or products that you sell. And just so we're clear here, a product could be a physical product or a digital product or a service, but I'm just using the term product in a general sense. On this page, I highly recommend that you choose just one product as your business's primary product. You might sell several different things. You might even sell hundreds of different things. But determine what your main product is that you're going to center your business's marketing message around, and really try to structure your business around selling. The reason that I recommend that you do this is that many different parts of your business development will be much easier if you do have one product that is the focus. On this page of the business plan, start by first of all identifying what that product is, and then describing the result that the product creates. And here's a little hint. What your company sells is really the result that the product creates, not the product itself. After describing the result, describe the impact that the product creates. This is different than the result itself. It's instead how the customer's life is affected by the result that the product creates. For example, if the product that you're selling physically is a vacuum cleaner, then the result that the product creates is clean floors, but the product's impact is that your prospect feels better about the state of their house, has a cleaner, healthier living environment, and perhaps feels more confident inviting company over. Once you've described those 3 things for your main product, you can move on to other products that your company sells, describing first of all what the product is, second, the result that it creates, and finally, the impact that it has on customers' lives. The 6th and final page of your business success plan has to do with your goals. Now, if you've looked at any examples of business plans in the past or read a guide on how to write a business plan, you might have seen a section that focused on projections. So sales projections or new customer acquisition projections or market share projections. And if you've tried to write a business plan in the past and you tried to write that section, you may have found it very difficult. And chances are that's because you're running a small business or maybe you've just started your business. And it's really difficult to make accurate projections, or projections at all for that matter, if you don't have any data to base them on. And that's why I'd recommend that if you are just starting your company or you've only been in business for a couple of years, that instead of trying to create projections, you instead simply set goals. You can decide exactly how long you want to make your goals for, but a good place to start would be to set some 1-year goals and also some 5-year goals. That way you know what you need to work on right now, but you also know where you're aiming longer term. For each time frame, you can set whatever goals you'd like. However, some that I might recommend are number of sales, total revenue, profit, impact in terms of the number of customers who you help or how wide you spread your message, and development, which could be the extent to which you've advanced the product that you create and offer, or to what extent you've built your company. And of course, when setting goals, it's always important to set specific, measurable goals and to set a deadline for when you're planning to reach them by. All right, that's everything you need to include in your business plan. As you can see, it's 6 simple pages, and you probably already know most of the information that will be going into this business plan already. There are many other pieces of information that you may want to include in your business plan, and of course, you're more than welcome to. Include any relevant information that describes how you successfully run your business and how you plan to reach your goals. However, my final piece of advice for you is to make sure that you don't overcomplicate things. More words are not better. In fact, your business plan will be the most useful if you keep it short and relatively simple. Because if you write a document that's 20, 40 or more pages long, chances are high that nobody will ever even go back and read it ever again. As I mentioned earlier on, I put a neatly organized outline of this business plan together for you. There's a link in the description below where you can download it for free. If you have any feedback on it, be sure to let me know. I'd recommend that you download it and print it out now, and that you schedule some time on your calendar so that you actually get around to filling it out. Because writing a business plan is one of those things that can have a big long-term impact on your business, but because it isn't actually urgent, you might put it off indefinitely. And until you make the time to write your business plan, your business will continue to be disorganized and not as strategic as it could be. Alright, well that is everything for today's video. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, then please hit that like button to let me know, and also consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. I make 2 videos here every single week about entrepreneurship, success, and personal development, and if you like this video, then you won't want to miss the next one. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Gillian Perkins, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.
Welcome back, dear viewers. Welcome back, young people. Yeah, welcome back, aspirational entrepreneurs and current entrepreneurs who are also just watching to reignite their fire, because learning is a never-ending process. There's always something new you can learn about how to just give your business a bit of a boost. We learned a lot about in that business plan outline about market, about also just setting up, and the key word that keeps on coming back again and again is the word of the mission statement, the vision of the business, because without that vision, that business cannot really thrive or cannot be sustainable. I'm reading a few quotes here. There's Richard Branson. He says, entrepreneurship is about turning what excites you in life into capital so that you can do more of it and move forward with it. They always say if you want to go into business, choose a sector or choose a passion that you really, really love. Choose something that you love. In my business, I'm a writer. I write a lot. I can write till 3 a.m. because for me, it's not a burden to write. It is my passion. It is what excites me. So entrepreneurship is about turning what excites you in life into capital so that you can do more of it and move forward with it. We do have a Junior Achievement Eswatini alumni. He was speaking at the Career Expo 2 weeks ago. He's into agriculture, and he was speaking that he just loves being in the field. He loves being dirty. He loves seeing a plant grow, just looking at his work, his input, and seeing the output. And that is also turning a lot of capital for him. So it's all about your passion. If you love sewing, we know there's young people out there who are into fashion design, and they can design for hours and hours and days on end, and they do more of it, they move forward with it. Richard Branson just trying to summarize with that quote what we have been discussing since morning in terms of idea generating. Generate your idea within your passion and within what excites you, as the multimillionaire is saying in this quote. I also like this one. It says, it's not about ideas, it's about making those ideas happen. We spoke about idea generation in the morning. And then in our second part of our presentation, we spoke about now how do you make those ideas happen. Here's the business plan, here's the outline. Then we also spoke about registration of a company. What are the 12 key points that you have to go via? We spoke about the times that are involved in terms of registering a business. We are trying to not only speak about ideas, but also speak about making ideas happen. That's a quote by Scott Plesky saying it's not about ideas, it's about making ideas happen. And then the last quote I'd like to share, it says, entrepreneurship is a state of mind, a can-do attitude, a capacity to focus on a vision and work towards it. All of the best entrepreneurs, they began with the end in mind. They dream big. They see their shops. They see already from the onset, they already see company cars with their logos driving around the country. They already envision and they start working towards that end goal. And that is what has made so many companies become so successful. It is about having a vision. It's about sticking to it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much also for your feedback on Facebook. I'm loving it. All I'm seeing is awesome. I'm seeing great. I'm seeing wonderful, which means you definitely enjoyed the first session. Learning is not easy. Learning is not fun, but learning is super beneficial and impactful. You may have within this 2.5 hours taken 3 or 4 things, but those 3 or 4 things will propel you and fuel you for the rest of the year. And fuel your dreams, give your dreams that fire to be able to be impactful when you go when you chase your business dream. And of course, Junior Achievement Eswatini is available in the hub of the country, Manzini. They are available for any of your inquiries should you want to inquire about how can I get in touch with the mentor, who can help me with a business plan. Can you send me a business plan template that I can fill out? They are available. Please do take this number. It says 2505 6504 2505 6504 or 2505 8259 8259. And for those who prefer to just send an email, you can send an email to info@jaswatini.org. info@jaswatini.org. And if you're like me, you prefer things to be instant and you just want to communicate with Junior Achievement Eswatini via the Facebook page, feel free. Drop an inbox and say, hey, hi JA, I'm so and so. I'd like to know, I have this business idea. Please send me through please send me through a business plan template. This is my email. This is my WhatsApp number. And I'm sure somebody will help you within 24 hours. Because after all, Junior Achievement is here to empower young people to be able to follow their business aspiration. Special thanks to MTN Eswatini. Of course, they are the ones that have made this training possible through the partnership with Junior Achievement Eswatini. And they've made it possible through a very simple theme of the 21 days of Yellow Care. The theme is empowering entrepreneurs to unlock growth and job opportunities for communities. Empowering entrepreneurs to unlock growth and job opportunities for communities. Yes, so that is what will be happening throughout the 21 days of Yellow Care. Of course, there's a strong emphasis towards environment this year, growing green, and also just making that green economy grow, and how we can turn trash into treasure. I was at the MTN Yellow Care launch last week. Very interesting there with the stalls displayed. There's a lady who makes earrings from, if you've thrown away that airtime you've scratched, she collects those, makes earrings. There are people who are making clocks using a car tire, put in the clock there just so that you can have a unique design. So many exciting products that you can use from something that has been thrown away by someone, because someone's trash is another person's treasure, and they are monetizing that trash in many, many different ways. And as you continue sticking with our broadcast, you'll learn different ways and different opportunities of how you can also turn any trash next to you into treasure. Tomorrow we are back here again. Simple topic tomorrow, but very exciting, that will take your business to the next level. It's going to be speaking about pitching. I love pitching. I have a book that I read. I saw it being advertised online. It's called Pitch to Win by Justin Cohen. Pitch to win. Pitch to win, like present so that you can win with your presentation. So tomorrow we're going to be talking on the topic of pitching, how to pitch, how to sell yourself, how to sell your business to other people. My most exciting component about this whole entrepreneurship journey is listening to pitches and also doing my own pitches when I'm looking for business. I enjoy pitching. I'm creative when I pitch. I look for something that will grab the audience of the person I'm pitching to leave a lasting impression. And I have a good turnaround rate in terms of my pitches. So I'm sure you'll enjoy hearing my tips on how to pitch to win. And then the second point tomorrow will be preparing a winning pitch. Preparing a winning pitch, one that will not fail, one that will ensure that when you knock, that door will be opened. And then, of course, the very last one will be common questions during a pitch and how to respond to them. Interestingly, with that one, I have sat in over dozens and dozens of judging sessions by Junior Achievement Eswatini and other organizations around the country where they've called me in as a judge. I've listened to people pitching. I've asked questions. I usually ask very difficult questions because I am from a journalism background. I want to know realistically, if you were to get funding, what impact will your business have? Do you have the capacity to really run this business, or you're pitching for the sake of passing time? I'll be sharing the questions that are essential, that you're most likely to get the next time you try to pitch for this 10,000 funding, 20,000 funding, 30,000 funding. Or even if you're just pitching to a friend who has money and says, you know what, think of a business idea, I'll fund it. Goes back to what? Ideation. We spoke about it in the morning. Go all the way to a business plan outline. You do the business plan, you go back to the friend. Now you have to pitch to the friend. Okay, here's my idea. 1, 2, 3. Here's how I'll do it. We spoke about operations, processes, during the business plan outline. How will you market it? We spoke about how you'll market it. Those are all the components of a pitch. So we'll be looking at that. And then what will the funder be asking? You're asking for money here. They'll be asking questions. Many, many questions, and those questions will be revealed. They're no longer a secret. They will be revealed tomorrow. You will know all the questions that potential funders, banks, financial institutions that they ask when they want to fund you, and how to correctly respond to them. It's going to be exciting. Thank you very much to Junior Achievement Eswatini to have me. I am, of course, Nati Kule, out-of-school mentor for Junior Achievement. I go around the country training young people and women on how best to roll out their businesses. Some of them have won seed funding grants through my training in partnership with Junior Achievement Eswatini. I walk the talk, and I'm excited to have been part of today's session. May you have a wonderful remainder of the day. Let's meet tomorrow at 9 a.m. Just check if you're still there. At 9 a.m. we'll be online right here on Junior Achievement Eswatini page. Have a fantastic day. Thank you.